Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Alexis, and we also have a very new addition to our team. I'll go ahead and allow him to introduce himself.
Hey everyone, this is Robert Reed. Glad to be here. I'm a project manager over at Greater Flint Health Coalition and new to the ReCAST program.
And we are very lucky to have you over here with us. And so I know you guys noticed that we've switched up the format of Talk About It Tuesday. And Robert's going to go ahead and explain to you what we're going to do from here on out.
Absolutely. So I know that with Facebook doing Talk About It Tuesday, we get a lot of people that check out the Talk About It Tuesday after we actually do it. So I thought it would be a great idea in the interest of engagement to create another platform through podcasts where we can, have more engagement, take some questions, hear your voice, because ultimately that's why we're here. We're here to see how we can help you, how we can serve you, how we can grow as a Flint community stronger together, and how we can continue to hear your voice, empower your voice, and make some connection. We're a strong community here, and we definitely have a lot of resources, but we want to make sure that we know what's going on. We know how to serve you, how best to serve you. And so if you have questions, comments, ideas, you can send us an email to recast@flint.org, and we'll definitely, answer your questions. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what we're sharing and what the topic that we'll be discussing. And again, send us an email, recast@flint.org.
Yes, absolutely. We look forward to hearing from you. That's how we'll be able to best tailor the conversations that we have and make sure that we're actually talking about what you guys want to learn more about. And just in case you guys had any trouble with spelling ReCAST, that is ReCAST at flint.org.
Thank you.
So today we're actually going to be talking about boundaries. And I know sometimes when we hear boundaries, we have a certain definition. But let's listen to the technical one.
Well, here's a definition, right? I found this on therapistaid.com, and it said, personal boundaries are the limits and rules we set for ourselves within relationship. A person with healthy boundaries can say no to others when they want to, but they are also comfortable opening themselves up to intimacy and close relationships. And so when we're talking about boundaries, in short, boundaries help you define what you're comfortable with and how you would like to be treated by others.
And another way that boundaries were described to me is it's actually a way to keep people in your lives. A lot of times we view boundaries as if you do this, well, then I'm cutting you out of my life. I'm no longer talking to you. Just some list of consequences. It's more of a way to keep people out. But really, boundaries is letting someone know that, hey, I want you to stay in my life. I respect and value and love our relationship so much. I would like it to continue. But in order for it to do so, here's what we have to do. So it really is a way to strengthen relationships versus just to pretty much cut them off.
Yeah, sometimes it's like we say, you meet somebody, like, I got to learn how to dance with this person, right? I got to learn, what is the proper way, the tone. Sometimes my humor could be a little off color, or you can't joke around with everybody like that. Some people may be more serious and stern. As a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago, we lost one of our aunts, and one of her sisters was in the hospital before she had passed, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and so everybody came in, and I was trying to keep things lighthearted. So I'm cracking jokes, I'm doing stuff. And one of the aunts, I was like, oh, where you been? I haven't seen you in a while. I've been running some numbers or something like that. And I heard her say, no, I haven't done anything like that. But my wife said, no, don't play with me like that. Because she's not a jokey type of person. And that's like, no, you crossed the boundaries. I don't play, I'm kind of straight-laced, black and white. This is kind of what it is. I don't get into that. So boundaries are important because we don't want to kind of put anybody off unintentionally. You got to read the room a little bit, see how what you said is being received by the other person. And again, I'm here trying to lighten the mood, but she wasn't in the headspace to try to receive any of that. So that's a boundary.
Funny enough, I actually had a very similar experience like that last week where someone was sharing something with me and I tried to lighten the mood and it was not received well. So instead of, sometimes we tend to get upset, get a little defensive when we find out that we did something to offend or hurt someone else. But in that moment, I realized it was important to take accountability, to apologize, express that I wasn't aware that that was something that might be triggering for them. And moving forward, I'd be correcting that action. But that just really made me think about how important it is also to have conversations where boundaries are being defined. Everyone is so different. Something that may not be allowed by someone is something that's perfectly fine with someone else. So in order to implement boundaries and just have healthy relationships, it's important to have those type of conversations where they're just set up and they're very clear.
Absolutely. So the question of the day is, what area in your life do you set boundaries? But more importantly, I guess the real question is, do you struggle setting boundaries in your life? And kind of where?
So I definitely can say it's something that I am still getting better at. I especially struggle when it comes to family. Being a Black woman, there's a certain ideology of what that's supposed to look like, especially in a family setting where it's just completely self-sacrificing. Regardless of what is going on with myself, I am always supposed to put the needs of family before that. So sometimes that definitely can take a toll on physical, mental, and emotional health. But for so long, I was just taught that it's selfish to take time for yourself. It's selfish to say no. It's selfish and self-centered, and it's just not acceptable at all. So in turn, we wind up, well, at least for myself, I wind up running myself into the ground, just out of guilt as well. But I've been learning that setting boundaries is very important because one, when you don't, sometimes it can create a little bit of resentment. So like, yes, I'm doing these things, but do I want to be doing them? Am I happy doing them? Like, is it coming from just a pure, genuine place, or is it just a sense of, I have to do this? That makes a difference in doing things, and as well as I can't take that toll on myself because I'm important. Although, yes, 100%, I want to support and love on my family, as I'm sure most of us do. But in order to be at my best, I do have to still take care of myself. And sometimes that's going to come with saying no. No is a complete sentence. It's just no.
Yep.
I can't do that.
And it doesn't require an explanation either.
Yes.
No is just no.
Yes.
So. I'm going to offer, if I may, a different perspective because I know what you mean, putting others before yourself. I've seen that happen a lot in life. My mother, 4 children that she raised, super woman, right? But the thing that I noticed is if you're always putting other people before yourself and people are depending on you and you're like, well, it may be selfish if I don't. I think actually it's selfish. It's more selfish not to take time to care for yourself if people are depending on you. Because if you have a breakdown or you are just out of it, you can't be there for the people that you want to be there for anyway. So really, you're robbing them of the thing that they need. The very thing you're trying to accomplish, you rob them of that because you didn't take care of yourself first. And I've seen, there's been times growing up, I walked into a room, my mother was just in a pitch black room crying, just in the corner. I'm a child, right? I don't know what's going on. But obviously, she was overwhelmed. And I can tell you now, as an adult, seeing my mother seeking guidance and help, talking to a therapist and doing some of those things, she's processing a lot of the stuff that she did not have an opportunity or didn't make space or have space or felt like she had space to process. And so that's important to make sure. So that's just another way to look at it. It's not selfish to tell somebody no. It's selfish to always say yes and deplete yourself and have nothing to give the most important people in your life.
I think that is a great perspective. I've never even looked at it in that way, I guess. So it's definitely something I want to start saying to other people. Like, it's selfish to just keep saying yes, actually. But I guess I'll pose the question to you. Do you struggle setting boundaries? And if so, like, what areas particularly?
It depends. If it's something that I have already decided is very important to me and valuable, like family, I have no problem setting boundaries whatsoever. I'm very, very clear about that. And one of the things that comes to mind is I have 3 daughters and a son. So when at the time we only had 2 children, I was taking my 2 youngest daughters over to their grandmother's house, and their grandmother had remarried. So she wasn't home and I was early, and she said, "Hey, that's okay. Just leave him. My husband's home. Go ahead and drop the girls off. You can go ahead off to work." And that was a boundary for me, because I'm like, no, you're their grandmother. They're related to you. I know you love them. I would assume that their grandfather loves them as well, but I'm not leaving my 2 children, the most precious people, to me, in the care if you're not going to be there. And they were like, "Well, it's okay. You don't want to hurt so-and-so's feelings." This is a boundary. I don't care about that person's feelings. I care about protecting my daughters. I care about making sure that I don't put them in a space, that could even be potentially be harmful to them. Not even in an environment. So I'm clear about boundaries when it comes to certain things. But I'm a very patient person. So I understand that everybody's dealing with something. And I would like to slow down enough to consider other people. I know that everybody has a story. That's why I don't have road rage. You don't know what somebody is going through. It just reminds me of a story I heard about a man, and I think they were in New York, and he had 2 younger children, 4 or 5, and got on the subway. He just kind of sat down, and the children were everywhere, running around, loud, jumping on the strangers, bumping into them, just doing everything. And this woman was sitting back watching this and just kind of in disgust. "Sir, can you get a hold of your children? Can you control them?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I probably should do that. Their mother just died, and we're on the way back from the hospital. Yeah, little Timmy, little Susie, come here." So he was out of it dealing with something, right? And here this person now probably feels so small because they judge this person. He doesn't know how to take care. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what they just left, right? You don't know what frame of mind that they're in. So we have to extend patience to people, right? Because everybody's dealing with something. So I try to be patient in that regard, but make no mistake, there's a clear divide between things that are very, very important to me. I do have boundaries, and I'll just offer you with this, and we can kind of wrap it up. Freedom only exists inside of boundaries, right?
Yes.
I know that at home, I've created a space with boundaries. I have a fence. I have walls. My children have the lay of the land. They can do whatever they want to. They can be free. But if they were outside the front door and I couldn't see them, no, you're not free. You're not free, because now I'm bound by worrying and concerned about all the multiple things that could happen. So I want them to be, free and in peace and safe in an environment. But that comes at the cost of having a boundary.
Yes. And boundaries, just what you were saying, brought to mind that boundaries are not only a protection for ourselves, but also other people. Like when you set that boundary with your daughters, it was 100% to protect them, right? But even with not allowing them to stay there with their grandmother's husband, that was also a protection for him. There was no way that anything could come back, anything could be said, anything could be misconstrued. There would not be a strain on the relationship, just setting those clear boundaries. So I definitely appreciate you bringing up that point. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's boundaries, but we want to hear, how are you setting boundaries? Are you struggling to set boundaries in your life? So again, please send your comment or your question to recast@flint.org. If you want to hear a particular topic discussed at the next Talk About It Tuesday, reach out to us. We want to hear from you.
Yes, please let us know. And if you want to be a guest on a Talk About It Tuesday, you can send that over to our Recast email as well.
All right. You all be well, and remember that we are happy you're here. So we want to hear from you.
Thank you.